Ryan came to Australia in search of a new life, but finding a place to live hasn't been easy.
I have never experienced anything remotely as hard as finding a place to stay in the Australian rental market.
It took Ryan and their Australian partner several months to find this apartment in Melbourne's east.
It's a full-time job when you're going out to these inspections day after day.
Migrants are coming into the country at a record pace, with more than 500,000 expected in 2023. Former Treasurer Peter Costello says he's pro-immigration, but those numbers are too high.
I think it's very, very important that we do it in a gradualised way rather than have these huge licks which are putting pressure on the housing market. No wonder we've got rental shortages.
The number of properties available to rent across the country is at a record low.
Australia's rental market is going through a pretty unique period of strong increases that we haven't seen for a very long time.
Rents remain one of the biggest contributors to inflation, rising by 6.6% in the year to October. In the same period, inflation came in lower than expected at 4.9%, but it's still higher than other developed economies like the UK and the US.
Inflation is still too high and will be with us for longer than we'd like.
And that could push the Reserve Bank to lift interest rates again.
Despite that noise, households and businesses in Australia are actually in a pretty good position. Their balance sheets are pretty good. Through the pandemic, they built up large buffers, large savings buffers, and they're largely still intact.
Economists say, in one way, migrants are helping to reduce inflation by putting downward pressure on wages growth.
A whole bunch of migrants has reduced the skill shortages problem. So in some ways, migration is making bits of inflation less of a problem.
But Chris Richardson does think record migration is adding to rental inflation.
It's not that we've messed up migration, it's that we've messed up housing.
Fixing Australia's housing crisis will be slow. The fallout from the home builder scheme, soaring material costs, builders going bust and rising interest rates have pushed the building approvals to near decade lows.
The ultimate fix lies in housing and yes, in my backyard. In the meantime though, we may need to pull back a bit on the pace of immigration.
While Rai feels lucky to be in the country, they're concerned for others trying to find a home.
I do really feel for Australians who have been negatively impacted by the rental and housing crisis.
A crisis that's set to continue.